The views and opinions expressed by callers, guests, and hosts do not necessarily reflect those of the Black Talk Radio Network and Black Talk Media Project. Black Talk Radio is new black media for the new millennium.
Dinar would have had serious consequences for the world financial system, but may also have empowered the people of Africa, something black activists say the US wants to avoid at all costs.
We're slicing cake. We're slicing cake. We're slicing cake.
Say the US wants to avoid at all costs.
We're slicing cake.
Say the US wants to avoid at all costs.
We're slicing.
Gaddafi didn't give up. In the months leading up to the military intervention, he called on African and Muslim nations to join together to create this new currency that would rival the dollar and euro. They would sell oil and other resources around the world only for gold dinars. It's an idea that would shift the economic balance of the world. Countries' wealth would depend on how much gold they have, not how many dollars they trade. And Libya has 144 tons of gold.
Okay, welcome everyone to Tando Radio Show, brought to you by Black Talk Radio Network. Just want to thank you all for tuning in. Today is Wednesday. It's Wise Wednesday, February the 1st, 2017. We have a live show for you today. Brother Davis is in queue and ready to go. But before we do that, let's take care of some of the things that we always take care of in the beginning of Tando Radio Show. And that is, I sincerely thank you all for taking out from your busy schedule and actually being a part of this Tando Radio Show and Black Talk Radio Network's family. We truly, truly do appreciate you all. And I would definitely say in order for us to continue to grow and continue to bring you what you have deemed relevant and important, it would be who of you, and it would be very kind of you, and it's necessary for this network to continue to grow, for you, the listeners, to actually invest into this network so that it can continue to bring you what you consider to be very valuable. Give what you can give. Go to www.blacktalkradionetwork.com. On the far right-hand margin, you'll see the icon for donations in green. You can hit that, and it will hit that prompt, and it will lead you in how you can give some of your financial energy, some of your cash, so this network can continue to build, grow, and bring you what you have come to appreciate and what you consider extremely relevant and extremely valuable, so that we can continue to do this into the future and to have a means in which we can have some deciding factors and to energize and to direct our overall energy into the future. So you can do that by going to Black Talk Radio Network or to Black Talk Radio Network. You'll also see the crowdfunding digital black media, or on the far right-hand margin, hit the donation prompt, the green background with the holding hands that's there that you can hit. Also, Black Talk Radio Network has established a social media network known as BTR Community, and that stands for Black Talk Radio Community. And it's a social media network where you can engage in all of your social media activities instead of being on the mainstream networks such as Facebook, Twitter, and Snapchat and all of that other stuff. You can be on BTR Community. You could also find BTR Community at www.btrcommunity.com, and you can actually become a part of that without that social media outlet, without having to worry about you being adversely affected by your postings, by who's seeing it and developing their overall ideologies, opinions, or a lot of people may not even realize that the opportunities of employment and other things that were missed because of what you posted inside of FedBook. So you can do that with Black Talk Radio Network Community or BTR Community without having to worry about that. Anything that you post and what you're sponsoring, what you support, your comments and things of that nature, you won't be adversely affected because there's a membership platform. So you can do that by going to BTR Community. It's right there on the website, just beneath on the far right-hand margin, just beneath the donation. You can scroll down and you'll see the B that's there, and it stands for BTR Community. It's only $24 a year for your overall membership, and be part of. I no longer post inside of the mainstream media ones. I only post inside of BTR. So definitely, everyone, be a part of that. It was created for you, and it offers you more protection than the other social media outlets. Also, no one will ever sell your identity to any bidder at all. So that's why you should be doing it, because BTR Community was created for you. Also, if you're interested in acquiring precious metals, real money, you can do that by going to Prosperity Mint, PROSPERITYMINT.com, and see what's there in inventory. Then email wolf6pack1@gmail so someone can get in contact with you about the overall buying practice and how you can do that. So you can do that with Prosperity Mint. Definitely very, very important, especially for what's coming in the future. So definitely be a part of that. Acquire and save as a lady and a gentleman. Acquire and save as a king and a queen. And that is, ladies and gentlemen, in the precious metals. Also, if you're interested in acquiring some Girl Scout cookies, you can text me at 951-790-8330. Okay, 951-790-8330. If you are interested in purchasing some Girl Scout cookies, a young lady is selling Girl Scout cookies, and we want to support her. So you can text me for that. Also, just to give you some heads up, we are going to be having a financial seminar in the Dallas area, and I believe it's going to be March the 25th. Just to give you a heads up for everyone, I will have more information coming soon about the actual financial seminar that will be given. I will be there, and some people that I work with will be there and giving some very, very keen financial opportunities and structuring you financially in a way that protects you. It's very, very important that you do some of the things that will be discussed. We'll have some experts about foundations and trust, and these are the things that you should actually be engaging in, because they will actually put you in a position of controlling things and not owning anything. And so there are many, many, many benefits. This is why you see foundations at some of the largest institutions and trusts for some of the extreme, what is known as some of the extreme wealthy, because they control assets by way of their trust. And there's some opportunities that you should know about and be engaging in that. And also, we will have some other financial things that you can protect yourself, the proper way to save. So we will be giving a seminar on those things, about those things that could benefit you and your family. So you definitely want to be a part of that. And that will be March the 25th of 2017 here in Dallas. I think it's going to be at the DoubleTree, but I will have more information. And the cost, I believe the cost is going to be $200 for couples and $125 for a single person. So for one ticket. So as couples, you can buy $200. So definitely be involved in that. It's going to be in Dallas in March the 25th of 2017. So I'll give you more information, more clear definition, and so you can calendar that. And believe me, it's going to be worth your while. Some things that you never knew was possible, and for you, to where you can actually be the beneficiary, and you'll see how some of the wealthy were able to manipulate or to create prosperity beyond anyone's real means. This is where you control things, and you'll be surprised at the opportunities that it has, from tax benefits to just funding yourself, just so many benefits. So we're going to be having that coming up in March, and this is something that you should definitely be a part of, and we will get that to you. Okay, so let's jump into what's in the news, and we'll jump into today's Wise Wednesday with the Davis team, Team Davis, and it is going to be, I believe I was hearing Brother Davis talk about a preparedness list. Man, this is so important that we have some of this, especially for what's going on. So what I want to do really quickly, there was an article that we posted in, so let's jump into what's in the news. Posted an article about 12 hours ago, last night, and it came from Reuters. Germany sent tanks to Lithuania for a NATO mission. Germany began sending tanks and other equipment to Lithuania on yesterday, as part of a NATO mission to beef up the defense of Eastern Europe and send a signal of resolve to Russia, which has denounced the buildup as an act of aggression. Ladies and gentlemen, the overall staging for war is being set globally in Djibouti, in Eurasia, in the South Sea of China, in Africa, in Europe, in the Middle East, in South America. It's all of the positioning for it is now, the preliminary stages of it have already passed. Now it's the movement of the overall war hardware and the mechanized war instruments or tools are all in place now, and it's only a matter of time. So read that article, know what's really going on, and be ready. I'm telling you, it's going to be a surprise that's going on. Another article, this one came from ABC News today, and I said, shaking my head. Best be ready, and this is non-fictional, ladies and gentlemen. This is true. This is not fiction. As we had the 96-hour margin call, well, today the National Security Advisor Michael Flynn made a brief announcement at the White House press conference. And what I want to do really quickly, I want to play it for you all to hear for yourself. Let me just cue this up. It's only like 2 minutes, and then we'll get into the rest of it. We don't have that much in what's in the news. Then we'll jump into, and this goes hand in hand with this is. Pull this up really quickly, and it's critical that you know where we are, because where we are is going to bring about some very, very uncertain times, and we want you to be in a position of advantage for that. So let me see if this is going to pull it. Okay, so I'm going to pull it off of here. Okay, here it is. Oh, no. Wait a minute. Okay, 1 second. No, it didn't. Okay, so 1 second. Let me just pull this up really quickly. What we posted on inside of Tando's page inside of BTR, you're going to have to find the press conference from Michael Flynn, and it's going to say, as of today, we are officially putting Iran on notice. You can find it there. And just look for it, because it didn't. Let me find it really quickly. It's here, but I have it. I'll just repost it from YouTube, I guess. Okay, here it is. Here it is. All right, here we go. So very, very important that you pay attention to what is happening, ladies and gentlemen, because this is unfolding in a way that is what we've been saying that you need to protect yourself and your family from, and it's setting up for, definitely for war. So 1 second. Okay, here we daggone it. One second, I'll pull this up. Here it is. Hopefully it pulls up here, which it should. And we'll play this really quickly. It's only like 2 minutes, but it's too important to pass up. Here we go. 1 second. And if it doesn't work, I'll just play it off of YouTube. I already have it queued up, but I want you to
Dave, if it's
it.
a YouTube video, just post it in our chat, and I'll play it.
Okay. Yeah. And here it is. 1 second. And then let me just okay. That's what I'll do because it's 1 second. Yeah, it's taking this.
Yeah, it'll be easier and faster.
Okay. I'm going to just post it into our chat. Well, here it is. I got it right here. Okay, here we go. You just open up my. Okay. 1 second. Stand on it. All right, so that's what I'm going to do. I'm just going to post it inside of our chat, and then Scotty will play it once he's ready. Oh, man, how do I? Okay. Sorry, y'all. Let me just pull this up off of YouTube, and then I'll put it in there. Okay, so now I'm gonna continue to do this while we go through what's in the news, and then I'll put that in, and then we'll play it while we're doing that. Okay, next article from what's in the news. This comes from Press TV. U.S. evaluating nuclear attack on Russia and China. U.S. intelligence agencies are working with the country's military forces to update previous assessments about a possible nuclear attack against Russia and China, conducted by the Pentagon Strategic Command and the Office of Director of National Intelligence. The study is trying to find out whether Russia and China leadership could survive a nuclear strike and keep operating. Stars and Stripes reported on Monday. Ladies and gentlemen, this whole thing is starting to unfold. Next article comes from Tech Dirt. After voting to escape the EU sovereignty, post-Brexit UK will become the subject of corporate sovereignty on a massive scale. So true. So check out that article. Really, really important. Next one, Dakota Access Pipeline. This one came from Cerebrally Naive Network. You call it CNN. Dakota Access Pipeline, a step closer to compliance, lawmaker says. Although the official easement of the Army's Corps has yet to be released, Representative Kevin Cramer praised the move, which had paved the way for the final phase of the controversial $3.7 billion project, said in a statement that has spoken with the acting Secretary of the Army, Robert Spears, on Tuesday. So check out that is going to reignite itself. Next one from Reuters. Iran confirms new missile test, says did not violate the nuclear deal. This came from Reuters. Iran's defense minister said the Islamic Republic had tested a new ballistic missile, confirming earlier reports. News agencies quoted him as saying on Wednesday, the Iranian defense minister said the test did not violate the country's deal on its nuclear program or the United Nations Security Council resolutions. So that is being questioned. So that is some of the things that are what's in the news. Really quickly, let me just pull up this. I'm going to put it inside for Scotty to play it. I thought what happened was I thought I had it all ready to go, but I guess with this one website, it just kicks you back and it didn't hold it for me. And so, okay, so let me just really quickly pull this up. And of course, y'all know my internet is bad. Scotty, if you're there, tag on it. YouTube. Okay, cool. So just pull this up real quick. And it's very important that you see how quick and what was said and how it's being played, because believe me, ladies and gentlemen, in my opinion, you're going to see and hear this again. And it's going to be from a different standpoint. And that standpoint that you'll hear it from will be from the contents of war. And so I just want you all to be thoroughly prepared for that, and so that you won't be caught by surprise like most of the other people globally and especially here will be caught by surprise. Most people around the world understand what's going on. They know what's really going on, and they know what's up. And they are preparing themselves accordingly for it. Most people here in the so-called the United States are the ones that aren't prepared for this at all, completely at all. And you have China moving their nuclear ballistic missiles and arsenals in firing position. And China's not like the North Korea. They don't bluff. It does not bluff. And you've been told from Mikhail Gorbachev, the former Soviet president, that the world is preparing for war. And these things are critical for you to know so that you can prepare yourself and your family accordingly for it, because it is going to happen. And believe me, in my opinion, the U.S. is targeted to lose this whole thing. And yes, regardless of what you've been told about how great the U.S. is and everything else, that is the facade that they want you to live by, so that you will be caught by surprise and at a disadvantage from that. So I posted it inside of BTR community, Scotty. So if you could just pull that up, and if you would just play that, and it's only 2 minutes at the most, and then we can go into today's show with Wise Wednesday with Brother Davis. But this is just too important to bypass, and for you all not to hear. So it's there, Scotty. If you get it, if you can, brother, if you could just pull that up.
Yeah, I was asking that you post.
Greatly appreciate it.
Yeah, I was wanting you to post it in the chat so I could easily find it, because now I got to look for it.
Oh, okay. I got you. Okay, I posted it in the chat. I still got it. So I posted it in the chat real quick. I got you.
Okay.
I was busy doing 2 things. Okay, here we go.
All right, pulling it up. While we're waiting on this, cause my browser, I was doing some other work, and it's moving kind of slow right now, but it should be opening up any minute here. But did you happen to catch? All right, my browser just totally shut down. Everything just went down. I'm not even in the conference anymore. So listeners, bear with me. Wow, what kind of link? Yeah, it was a YouTube video, but give me a second as I try to connect us back to our conference line. Everything just kind of, the browser just kind of shut down on me, and I don't even think Dave is aware that we are no longer connected to the conference line, but we will get connected here in just a bit. Give me a moment, and we'll get going. getting dialed back in.
Joining conference now. This conference is being recorded by the organizer.
Security, prosperity, and stability throughout and beyond the Middle East, which places American lives at risk. President Trump has severely criticized the various agreements reached between Iran and the Obama administration, as well as the United Nations, as being weak and ineffective. Instead of being thankful to the United States in these agreements, Iran is now feeling emboldened. As of today, we are officially putting Iran on notice. Thank you.
Thanks, General. We are going to have a background briefing with NSC staff today at 4 o'clock here in the briefing room.
Okay, so that was the press conference that they had where the National Security Advisor, former General Michael Flynn, came in and gave that. Ladies and gentlemen, remember what we posted yesterday and talked about yesterday on the show. Iran has dumped and dropped the U.S. dollar starting their new fiscal year of March of 2017, next month. And we've already talked about what other countries have engaged in that and what has happened to them. Okay? So this is the move towards, in my opinion, World War III that's going to lead into global nuclear war I. So you need to be prepared for that. So just if you really listen to what was being said there, Iran should be appreciative. The Obama administration and the UN have not done enough. And they've done this and they've done that. They violated the negotiated agreement with their ballistic missile test. And now they're putting them on notice. And just came in real quick and left real quick. This is the setup, ladies and gentlemen. And it's all going to be one of the things that I do think there's going to be happening. There's going to be a lot of major surprises. And the thing is that you have to position yourself and your family to be able to weather the surprises that are going to come about. For you, it will not be a surprise. There are going to be many of them, and we're going to talk about them. So just to let you know where we are. Okay? All right, so with that being said, we are going to go to a commercial break in 30 minutes from now. Brother Davis is here in queue, ready to go. So at the top of the hour, Brother Davis will have the first commercial break. And then we have the new Abolition Radio will be on. New Abolition Radio will be on right after Tando. So we will make room for them to come in. So without further ado, Brother Davis, if you're ready, you can unmute yourself and we can get started with Wise Wednesday.
Good evening, brothers and sisters. It's always good to hear the voice of a friend.
Yes, it is.
I'd like to welcome you to tonight's Wise Wednesday show, and I also want to inform you that my wife is going to probably in and out of the broadcast tonight, which is always great for me because she's presently driving, and literally that takes coming to relax her a little bit. But let me get out to the show real quick. We're going to talk about in the inventorying what we have established with our prepping. Why are we inventorying? Because a lot of you may have bought things and have not actually applied them. You want to know how everything you have works. One. Then you also want to be able to know what food you have. How is it stored? Is it anything that's going to be a problem later? Meaning that are they in containers that mice won't try to chew through and that sort of thing, because that'll contaminate your food. And literally, we don't know what's ahead, so we want to be able to be prepared for everything possible. You may have some new devices. There's some solar devices that we suggested that actually have the ability to charge your phones. So you want to check on those, and that means you might want to deplete an old phone or whatever, connect a solar device and let it sit in the sun to see how long it does take to charge, if it charges, and is it a full charge. So all these things are going to come into play because now your phone literally is a receiver and transmitter, okay? So that means that you may be able to pick up a radio channel even if your phone can't transmit, it may be able to be used as a FM radio receiver. And they do have that technology built into them, and we want to be able to tap into that if it's available. We also want to look at what area of the country we're in, because you want to make sure that you have things designed for the seasonal change in the area of the country that you are in. So if you're in the Northeast or the North, you know that the 4 seasons come. That winter can be hard on you. We're going through a relatively mild winter this year. A lot of people have different opinions about that, but, I mean, to me, in a situation where you have to meet the need that the weather requires, this is going to be one of the easier years in which that happens. That may not happen in a diverse time, so you still want to have some things like thermal underwear and maybe layered clothes that you could put on in case. And you don't have to have a lot of them, but you have to have enough to cover all of the needs of the family. And I want to point that out again, all of the needs of the family, because literally we have adults and we have children. And if electricity goes out, how is that going to play out in your family? Have you did any drills? My wife she's big on drills. She was like, we really need to discuss the fact that maybe we should take a weekend and just cut off all the power in the house and see how we operate as a family in the house without power. And you know what? That's a very contextual statement, because how are your children going to react? And is it going to be as a unit? Because literally the communication has to be clear in situations of diverse circumstance. And one of the reasons why is because you don't want one of the children to disappear and you not know where they are. And it could be simple as going to the bathroom. But because you may not know where they are, and in a time of diverse circumstance, that may be a stress to you that elevates your emotional level in the area it doesn't need to be. And see, a lot of people fail to realize what I've been telling you, that your body is in total communication with itself. So that means that all of the needs that it lacks, wherever it lacks, is going to have a repercussion. That's why when we talked about food, we talked about food that was nutritionally based. Inventory your food. Make sure it's nutritionally based. Also, read the labels in entirety. The words you can't, those words you can't pronounce, do your research on them. Make sure they're not GMOs. Look into your yard. See what's out there. See what kind of growth is edible and what is not. Another thing that a person was bringing to my attention was herbs. You should always have some herbs, because herbs serve a purpose of natural healing, as well as being able to season food with it, using it as a medicine, as well as using it as a spice and have to do with nutrition. Another thing is you should replace your salts with Himalayan salt. Why? Because Himalayan salt has as many as 90 different minerals and ingredients in it. And those are required in the body that may be a good source for you to achieve them. So you want to think in terms of how to utilize everything that is edified so that it becomes a part of the body's, meeting the body's needs. Because in any circumstance, by now, you should have been preparing yourself by at least the foods that you like, that you can make to taste. Okay? Don't wait to diverse times and then you try to make your beans and rice, and then you want to make them a certain way. By this time, you should have your recipe down, how you're going to do it, what you're going to mix with it, so that if you only have one meal a day, you can take that beans and rice and mix some kale with it, put some Himalayan salt on that, with a glass of fresh, I would say spring water, but let me say this here. Should I say filtered water, so that when you do drink it, it can serve its purpose and you do not have to worry about what other minerals may be in the water. So I want to let my wife have an opportunity here to give you some scenarios from her perspective.
Hey, Queso family. This is Erica Davis. I'm always listening, even if I don't say anything on those weeks prior. A lot of times I'm in the truck driving or so I'm always part of the team, but sometimes I'm the silent partner. But I do want to give a couple of scenarios real quick. My husband kind of gave the rundown of everything, but I want to piggyback on a few scenarios. One scenario is as we're riding in this truck, a lot of times we're listening to the radio, different radio channels and different things. Lately, it's not been lately, they've been doing it for a while. They have a commercial that comes on, and it tells you different tones. Like the first tone, the lady says, there's different tones that you might hear. That's how she kind of comes on. She says, some tones make you up in the morning. And it's like a little chime. And then there's another one that sounds like an alarm clock. And then she says, yes, and some tones set the mood for the day. And it's just different sounds. And then you hear sounds of like baseball game, which you can associate, people cheering. And then there's sounds of children talking. So you hear all these different sounds. Then she says, would you recognize a sound of an issue or a problem? And then it's a FEMA sound. It's one of those, and then you hear this sound that to me sounds like an inflow, like it goes, and you hear these different sounds. She says, would you know what to do if these, in a case where there's a catastrophe? Now, I'm not saying the commercial word for word, but in general, that's what she's saying. She says, would you know if you heard this tone of the FEMA sound, an explosion, do your children know where to go? Do you have a plan? Now, this commercial says at the end, well, FEMA.gov or whatever, it's a FEMA commercial. And there's like 2 or 3 different types of that same type of FEMA commercial that's out in circulation. Probably everybody on this call might have heard one of them. And to me, that's a heads up. It's a heads up. They're giving you these little scenarios, and we would not be who we are if we don't at least listen to at least uphold on some of these sounds, some of these warnings, some of these heads up that they're giving us. Now, Dave gave us a really great heads up on what he said about the semi-war that's coming. They're giving you some ideas of dominoes are falling. Let's put it that way. Dominoes are starting to fall. The whole picture isn't laid out yet, but people who are in the know can see that these dominoes are falling. And hopefully that's why people listen to this radio channel and listen to Black Talk Radio, because we can tend to paint a broad picture, and that's what we're doing tonight. So when I hear that commercial, I hear it almost every day or every other day, it makes me think that, do we really have an understanding that if something happens, what we're going to do? Now, the Davis family might, and the Wren family might, and Scotty's family might, but the average family really does not. When my husband and I was growing up, and probably Scotty can remember this, and probably Dave, there used to be a broadcast at night around 11 o'clock that says, do you know where your kids are right now? And whenever that came on, we're looking around like, we're sitting there looking at the TV with the broadcast. So, yeah, my mom and dad or some adult is right here with us. But that was a warning. That said, do you know where your children are? And generally back then, that was probably late 60s, early 70s, into the 80s. And yes, you always did tend to know where your children were. Right now, we a lot of times don't know where our children are. You figure, well, they're at the end of a cell phone. Yeah, okay, but what if that cell phone ain't working? Do you really know where your children are? And children will tell you in a minute, I'm over here at Billy Bob's house, and they're around the corner at some party somewhere. Kids know. I mean, we all were there. We all know how we can manipulate. But in a situation that might be catastrophic, we have to know. So that might be one of the first things people on this call need to do. Give your kids some tests. Do you really know where they are? Not that you gotta, put a hammer over their head and say you can't go here or you can't go there. But is there a signal that you can do or a code that will let your children know that there is something on the horizon, even though you might not know exactly what it is, but one, you need to be home. 2, you need to make sure your siblings are with you. 3, if I'm not there, this is what you do until I come there. And those are just some heads up that we need to just put out there, then you all can just start putting into practice. Because sometimes with these kids with these cell phones, they see you calling and they act like, phone battery's dead, low cell, we don't know what's going on, we're not going to respond. We need to make sure our children respond to us as adults, because we're getting into a situation or situations that you might not have a child run. Anything can happen. It doesn't have to be an apocalypse, end of the world type event. It could just be, hey, there's a snowstorm coming. I'm watching the news. You might not be watching the news. And in 3 or 4 hours, we might have 4 or 5 inches of snow. And I don't want you over there at such and such a person's house, because if it snows, I'm not getting out my nice warm house to get in my car to come get you. You need to be home. And those are just some scenarios that we really need to all be on the same page with, because these things might happen. Now, once again, when we were growing up, when the street lights came on, summertime, now during the winter, street lights might come on at 5 o'clock. The same principle applied. If the street light comes on in the wintertime at 5 o'clock, or it's 9:15 in July, you need to be on the porch or heading home. Because if you didn't, you lost the privilege for the next day. And if you were really in trouble, you might lose the privilege for the rest of the summer. Some of these kids don't know how to come home. I want to stay a little longer. Now, I'm not talking about other people's kids. I'm talking about our children. Because as an adult, about the worst case scenario is to not know where your children are, or for them not to know where you are. Even if there's a communication breakdown, like I said, it don't have to be an apocalypse situation. It could just be, mom didn't get home on time because her car broke down. Would your children really know what to do if you don't walk in that house at 6 o'clock in the evening? If you walked in at 8 o'clock, would there be an array of craziness because they're hysterical because you weren't where you were supposed to be, and maybe the communication was out and you could not let them know? So those are little communication things that prepping is all about. Prepping isn't just, getting a baggie and putting rice in it and putting it in a sterile container and letting it sit. That's prepping, yes. But there's more to prepping than that. Sometimes prepping people's minds and souls and spiritual, just for that gut feeling. That's prepping. When you get a crazy gut feeling that you might need to be in a certain place for a certain time, that's prepping. You know what I mean? Because if you need to work on your own instincts that are not over the airwaves or the radio waves, you might need to work on that gut feeling. And maybe the first couple of times you're wrong. But guess what? When the rubber hits the road, that gut feeling might save your life. Now, I know on the call, you all might have heard my husband say, we played a game with our children called Freeze. And to this day, our children are grown. And to this day, if we said freeze, they still look at us like, okay, what's going on? Something's going on. But a lot of times children don't know that you have reached a scenario that you have to absolutely be quiet or still. Some of these kids in some households boo the house. It's all about them. They do whatever they want. They go to bed any time of that, they up all night. They woo the house. It's about what they want to eat, not what's nutritional. We just, as this prepping group, those are other things you might have to prep. You might have 3 kids, but you got that one little Johnny that feels as though he's the boss, and usually he's the youngest child. And those kind of things you might have to address. Because if you're in a scenario where nobody can say nothing, and I mean nothing, can't say, oh, but Mom, oh, but Dad, that could cost somebody their life for whatever reason. If there's a car coming down the street that a child's walking down the street, the child's walking towards you, and you're walking toward that child's back is to the street. There could be a car coming down the street that the child don't see, you see, because you're facing that direction. They can't see because they're walking towards you. You might have to say, free. If that child, but what are you talking about, Mom? What are you? It could cost them their life. That car could be out of control. But I know it sounds kind of far-fetched, but guess what? If we're telling you this story, it's happened. Or it might not be a life or death type situation, but it could be just a training situation. Some children, and you know your own children, don't even listen to the parent. And if you have a child that's like that, that child might need some sit-down, understanding, training a little bit more than the other ones do, because you might come into a situation such as the grid goes down. We don't even have to say grid. We could just say the electrical power went down because of a windstorm. It's not raining. It's not snowing, but it's wind. Wind comes up from anywhere, 45 miles an hour. It's not a tornado, but just for out the blue, this wind kicks up, and it knocks over a power line, and there's no light. You know, that's not an apocalypse situation, but it's a situation that everybody's walking around the house and their heart's beating fast because they can't see in front of them. It's nice if something like that happens during the day, then you can acclimate. Huh?
Okay, my wife's phone went off for a minute, ladies and gentlemen, but she brings that back up. Let me pick up on what she was saying, that every circumstance cannot be preconceived. And the reason why it cannot be preconceived is because the solutions should be in the preparation. And it should not be resolved in a time of need, because in the chaos, there'd be a whole lot of other things going on. And wondering how your child is going to react is going to be more of a problem than it is a help. So as we move on, I also want to point out that whatever it is your plan is, if you're going to hunker down or if you're going to be mobile, make sure that everybody knows the movements if you're going to be mobile. Make sure that everybody has a routine if you're going to hunker down. What does that mean? That means that if they get up and go to the bathroom, they have a tendency to look in every room that they pass to make sure there's no broken windows, if there was none there before, to make sure that there's no doors open that are not supposed to be open, and to communicate whatever they see that is different than they expected. And literally, you can walk through the house and say, look, this is so-and-so's room. I'm going to cut this and close this off so that nobody's going to go in here and we don't have to heat this part of the house. See, what you're trying to give them is an understanding of your basic sanctuary of control. And literally, that might be in the basement. The reason why I say that might be in the basement is because the basement literally is where you probably have the most room in one room. You can literally paint out the windows to be black and then secure everything that you can upstairs, but definitely from downstairs on. Your food source should be down there, wherever the secure spot is. Your food source should be down there, and your security source should be down there. And I don't really going to go into a lot about security, but understand that in diverse circumstances, you're going to need security. So that's part of the checklist. And when I say security, I mean handheld, I mean shoulder-armed, I mean even booby traps. And for some of you are probably saying, booby traps? Oh, absolutely. Because guess what? If my doors are securely secured and they're forced open, how am I going to know if I'm in the deep of a sleep? So you set a booby trap. Booby trap may be something very simple, or it may be something that requires a little insight. Because believe me, if a person's trying to break into your house, they're not going to be gentle. They want to try to be as quiet as they can, but they're not going to try to be gentle. So booby traps may come in handy. Another thing you want to keep in mind is what do you have for first aid? Because even if you're working at the house and you do something and you cut yourself, say you walk in and there's a rusty needle somewhere, rusty nail somewhere and you run up against it. There is a possibility that you could get contaminated by that. What do you have for that? Okay? These things come in handy, and we cannot emphasize enough the importance of giving the little things just as much attention as you do the big things. Why? Because you don't want to be victimized by something that you overlooked that you could have very easily prepared for. Another thing you want to look at is what is going to be how you eat on a daily basis. What is going to be your energy source? Do you have enough of it? Do you need to acquire more? And the reason why I say that is because on Tando Radio, we showed you some simple ways of being able to take a minimal heat source and utilize it to cook with, as well as to be able to add a little warmth to a circumstance. Now, some areas of the country, you may not need that little bit of warmth. But in other areas of the country, you want to seriously consider it. And the reason why is because we are all in this together, but we may not be together. Another thing is you need to have, if in the family, you need to have a code word. That I would say two. One code word will let people know that everything's fine. Another code word will let people know that there might be something going on. Now, I know it might sound a little strange to you, but if you happen to come home one day and somebody is breaking in and literally you don't know and you're going to the door, but your wife is at the door, you can't see her bat in her eyes or let you know. And then how do you misinterpret that? Well, what if she's used to greeting you every day by saying, hello, darling, and then that day she reaches you, oh, husband, you're home. Well, right away, you know there's difference. That person may not know, but you know. That's why communication is so vitally important. And understand that the communication that is used should be known by everybody in the family. Okay, getting back to supplies. I want to give that a little bit more time, so I'm going to hold off after the break so that we can get into a serious breakdown of that, because literally that's going to be our source to sustain what they call time and space. And I want to really be able to focus on every aspect so that we can go from not only food, but the tools and the gadgets. And I've already mentioned before, as a matter of fact, let me start with this one before the break. By this time, everybody should have a radio, one that at least receives, but if you have one that transmits and receives, you're in a better position. You should also have gone by this time and picked up at least 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 Kevlar bags. And the reason why I constantly go up in those numbers is because those Kevlar bags can come in handy on the many, many circumstances. So literally, if you have them, you'll find uses for them that you didn't even see. Plastic bags are the same way. You may not see the uses that they come into play, but yes, you want to have as many of those as you possibly can in different sizes, okay? These things become your tool belt in the circumstances when you go out and do some gathering. And scavenging is another part of this because literally you may have to go out in your yard. Do you know what you can eat that's growing in your lawn? Have you grown things in your lawn that you can use in these type of contentious situations? Some people say, well, I got a few weeds out there. What are those weeds? Are those weeds edible? You see, this all becomes applicable knowledge. And the reason why I'm bringing all of this up is because as things change, and you all see this new circumstance we got with this so-called, they call him president, which I kind of cuts me because they never called President Obama president unless they was pressed. But they freely call this guy president who's doing out some crazy stuff. But nonetheless, he's doing some things that is definitely going to leave us into some times of hardship. And I want you to understand this, that if he does, and that hardship has a direct effect on you, you still have to thrive in your circumstance. Two things you can never do. One is you can never give up, and you can never give in. Either one of those two is your destruction. So you have to understand that a lot of people are not prepared to do either. So you have to be discerning. Don't discuss what you have or what you're doing at this late date with anybody, because they should be prepared. And if you are, they should have been doing what you're doing. Because literally, if you ever said anything, they're going to think about it when times get hard. And the diversity of your ability to withstand the circumstance is going to be something that they're going to seriously consider that they have a right to. And you understand how I said that? They may not have any, but they're going to feel as though they have a right to because you gave them the knowledge. Okay? Also tell your children, don't discuss what we do in the house, outside of the house. I know it seems a little harsh, a little strange, but these are just the circumstances that we are working with. And I want you to understand this here. You're not doing this for you personally. You were doing this for the family's survival. And they must understand that everything they do becomes a part of how the family works. Why? Because if they do the wrong thing and put themselves in the wrong circumstance, the family is going to have to sacrifice, not just them. So it's important that we realize all of these things before we get in a situation where we're forced to identify with them and move in a different direction. This is the Black Talk Radio. My name is Brother Davis. This is the Wise Wednesday. We want to encourage you. Call us here at 866-510-9025 with your answer, with your questions, with your scenarios, with your situation, because I have 1,000 things I want to talk to you about, and I have things I haven't gotten to. Herbs that you can literally eat that gives you minerals and supplements. You know, you don't have to consume them to eat them. You can stick them in your lip like a chew and let the fluids of your body soak into the herb, deplete the herb with all of those fluids, and then them fluids are swallowed. So that herb and those minerals and those supplements get into your system. And these things add to the nutritional value of you sustaining yourself regardless of the diverse circumstances. So once again, I want to holler out there. The telephone number is 866-510-9025. This is Wise Wednesday with the Davis team. My wife and I have come across a number of different scenarios we still want to discuss with you, but we want you to urge you to call in. Make this monologue a dialogue so that we can give our fruit to all those ears to hear and make them better prepared for the circumstances to come. So as we get ready to go into this break, pick up your phones and give us a call. Let us work with you. This is Brother Davis on a Wise Wednesday.
Okay.
Black Talk Radio since 2008, providing new black media for the masses.
Welcome back, brothers and sisters. I wanted to talk to you about this whole concept of inventorying what you have for prepping. Why? Because everything becomes vital. You don't want to think that you have something, and then you look up and you don't have it. You won't want to think that you know how something works because you purchased it and you glanced at it one time, but now when you need it, it's not available to you because what? You didn't go back and test it to be sure that it's functional in the circumstances that you're in. Some of the foods that you have, you're going to notice on TV, on the talk, those shopping channels and all of that, they're all starting to feature prepping foods now. So they're aware of what is happening. But you may not be aware of what all is in their foods. And understand this. We live in a time of deception. So literally, some of these foods, they're going to say, oh, this is non-GMO and this and this and that. But you really can't read what is in it. So you're going to have to take their word for it. And a lot of times when a person's getting paid money to convey a product, they will do what we call, they will give it lip service. That's right. And that lip service may not be entirely true, but what they're trying to do is sell a product. So when we look, and we go to Walmarts and Costco's, and all of them have it now, and that's another thing. All of these places have it so that you can go in, take a picture of the ingredients, then go home and do your due diligence while you have the time, or do your due diligence on your cell phone while you have the time. Because then you become a knowledgeable person about your purchase. You don't want to get something that you think is going to be a help to you, and then you find out later that it gets your family sick, because that multiplies your problem. And the sad part about it is that you might have done this with the best of intentions, but intent means nothing to people who's trying to make money. So let me emphasize, don't let money be a ruler in your decisions, because that is going to be a tool that they use. And everything that you least expect becomes a tool. Water may become a tool. Food may become a tool. Camaraderie, just to be able to have adult conversations with another adult, may become a tool. So literally, in order to be on your game, you have to prepare yourself psychologically what you are going to have to go through on a daily basis, not by yourself, but with your family also. So when it comes to the children, try to have books on their level that they can read. And we try to give them books that are not only going to educate them, but give them books that give them a little bit of diversity in thought. Okay? Why do I say that? Because those books allow them to become critical thinkers. We found out in many occasions that when a child is learned, they are eager to apply what they learned. So those simple drills that you do in your home that we talked about, those are a big plus. When you go to foods and you're saying, this has wheat has gluten. Now, this may be a last line of defense for food, but we're going to hold it, because if we reach that point and we got to consume a little gluten, although we don't like to, that's what we have available to us. And you never want to overlook what you have available to you, because even if it is your last choice, it's an opportunity or an option. And that may even be something that you can bargain with at a later date if you choose, because some people are going to see it as just as food. And understand this, a lot of processed food, I will even go as far as to say all processed food, has preservatives in it for its shelf life, time and space, okay? That is not good for the natural body. So it is good. We gave you a number of different books over a period of time about how to identify indigenous plants in your area. If you have that book, rest yourself up on it. And why do I say that? Is because if you do run short of food, or you don't have to run short of food, you just may have the opportunity to get it in your area. Go do so, because that becomes a part of the nutrition that you can literally add to your diet, because it's a naturally grown food. Understand, anything that grows naturally has an attribute, if it's consumable, has an attribute of nutrition to it. But that may not be the limit of it. It may have a medicinal attribute. It may have what they call an elixir oil, meaning that you can add it with other herbs and honey, and all of a sudden now you have a cough syrup, or you might have something that kills bacteria, or it may be just another way of mixing it with something to give it a better taste so you can get it in your body. I don't know about you, but golden seal is good for your body. It's a natural herb, but it has a terrible taste. So when I put it in tea, because it's good for your immune system, I always like to cover it up with a little something. Maybe a little spearmint, a little honey. These type of things you want to keep in mind. Because although it does give you a nutritional value, it does fortify your immune system. That might be the only beverage that you get time to drink in the morning or in the afternoon. You see what I'm saying? So your mind must think in terms of how the whole family functions. And when you go out here and you might, once again, see something that you identified as edible, that's when one of those old plastic bags or Kevlar bags come in handy, because you can always pick as much as you can, stuff it in the bag. Why do I say stuff it? Because you want to get as much as you can in there. Then when you go home, you can put it in through its process. Whether you dry out some, whether you let some just sit in water and in the sun so that it bleeds. And now this may sound strange to you, but when plants are in the water, there's something called photosynthesis that takes place, and literally that degrades the molecules in the plant itself so that it becomes saturated with the water, and whatever it is in that plant becomes a part of the water. So therefore, you may be able to drink the nutrition, or you may even be able to apply it as a medicine. All of these tools come in handy. Another thing you want to think about are literally tools, okay? If you're in a house, you want to make sure that you got a nice stash of nails. I would say get some half-inch nails, 1-inch nails, 3-inch nails, maybe even some 5-inch nails if you're bored enough. Because these are the tools that you're going to want to have available if you got to do these sort of things. I would say if you have enough time ahead, then you need to start looking down for a piece of lumber and wood. If you don't have the resources to go out and buy it, just pick it up as you travel. Throw it in the car, in the trunk or something. And that way, as you get them back home, you can see what you have to work with if you need to. Because now everybody's hoping for the best, but you got to prepare for the worst. Okay? Look at your house very closely. How many openings does it have? How many can you secure? Okay? How many levels is it? How many levels do you want to function on? How many people's in the house? Are they all aware of every entrance? All of these things become a vital part of your plan for your family to get through our circumstance. And I never want you to think for a minute that you are not going to have to be responsible for the security. Because whatever you have in those diverse times, somebody wants. So it won't hurt you when you're out and you see in those 5 and 10 cent stores, you see those $2 knives, 3-inch blades. You might want to pick up 3 or 4 of those. You might want to look around and see box cutters that literally people use on their job. You might want to pick up 3 or 4 of those. Because if a push comes to a shove, don't nobody expect a child to pull out a box cutter to get you off of them. I hope y'all getting this vision here. Because there are going to be times where your children are going to have to rise. And they can't wait for daddy. And they have to have the instinct to get to daddy or to mommy. And these things may be something that you may not even have thought of, but they become tools to keep a predator off of them. And make sure that if you go that route, that you sit down with them and you show them how it works. How do you extend the blade on the box cutter? How you contract the blade on the box cutter? How you have to hold it so that when you strike with it, you are definitely going to strike to your advantage. You don't want them to strike somebody and the blade's pointed the wrong direction. See, that's why you must teach them how to hold it, how to slide the blade out. And we're talking from any age of child that can possibly need a tool like this. The sad part about it is that we really hate to see that our world has literally depleted to this type of preparation. But it has. So you do one of two things. You sit back and you whine about it, or you prepare so that you can deal with it. That's it. There is no gray ground. And I'm going to tell you something. For those of you who don't know, $138 million have been cut out the HUD budget, and the repetition of that decision going downhill is going to create a lot of problems in our urban environments. Why? Because there are some people who have accepted a life of the system. And although they might think, well, I get $700 or $800 a month in food stamps or $1,500 in cash, well, now that food stamps might be $200 or $300, and that cash might be $500 or $600. So you see the great difference between what they used to get and what they're going to get, and how they fill that void, may it be an intrusion on your life. They know that the less jobs and the less opportunity for jobs is going to cause diversion in your environment. So we want to be prepared for everything that we can. If you have children that are old enough to understand weaponry, knowledgeable enough to be able to shoot it, and believe me, white people have been training their kids in schools, in their private charter schools. Oh, yeah. They have classes and breaking them down, cleaning them, and shooting them. So believe me, we need to get on our game. Because if we don't, what good is a weapon if a person does not know how to use it? And the sad part about it is that they always depict black people as not knowing how to use it. But let me give you a fact. Anybody that has been in the military, or anybody that's been in an ROTC program, or anybody that's been in a Boy Scout or Cub Scout has at least had the experience of seeing one of these things up close. So literally, there's an opportunity to play off that experience, a previous experience, to build knowledge on how this becomes a tool of usefulness and not just a tool for destruction. We now are at a stage where we want to have all of our inventory right. We want to have it stored so when we need it, we know where it's at. We want to be able to go to it and be able to snatch out from a pre-planned circumstance and operate in a plan in case that happens. What do I mean? Don't wait till the last minute. Show the family, the immediate family, where what the emergency stuff is. All right? Now, a lot of people are probably thinking, well, that's only going to be such and such. No, it ain't. Toilet paper can be an emergency tool. Make no mistake. We want them to have an understanding of where it's at and how we want you to put it back. My wife always tells me that she has a system, because a lot of times as we travel, we're in a small compartment. She has a system on how this compartment runs. And if I stick to her system, it runs smoothly. But I'm a man. So sometimes I'm not actually as accurate with her system as she is. Although I understand the functionality of it, a lot of times some of it escapes me, and I don't see it as the priority that she sees it. But in these diverse circumstances, we must make sure that they understand the priority so that everything can find its way back to its proper place, and the next person, if they need it, it's available to them. Okay, we also want to consider this. In the food category, what kind of canned foods are we eating? Have you read the can? Is there a lot of sodium in it? You see what I'm saying? These sort of things are going to have an adverse effect on the body over a period of time. Whereas if you got dried food, even something as simple as beans, you can literally cook those beans in the sun by just letting them sit and soak. That may be a source of cooking for many. So don't be surprised when I say something as simple as sit and soak. Because at the end of the day, or at the end of 2 days, whenever those beans reach a point in which you can consume them, they will definitely bring nutrition to your body. And that is what you're going to need. And that is what you're going to eat for. Anything you can get fresh, woo, that's a windfall. Let's eat as much fresh as we can. Sometimes you might even be able to get fresh vegetables or fresh fruit. That's a windfall. And try to be as miserly as you possibly can. Why? Because you want it to last. Anytime you get live food, it's going to give you live nutrition. That's called electric. And whenever you can get electric food in your body, it gives you that charge that the system needs to keep right on going. So whenever you're out, you're always looking for the opportunity to get that. All right? And I'm going to tell you, that might come from something as simple as dandelions. See, a lot of people don't realize it. But dandelions is a consumable food. And if you could get them fresh, you have options. Because you can also dry them out so you can get as many as you can. That's why I say those plastic bags, those Kevlar bags, always try to have something that you can stick something in and tuck it away. And the reason why I say stick something in and tuck it away is because you can seal the bag where it's tightly closed, and you might want to stick it in your shirt so it doesn't look like you got something like that. Understand, people may not know why you do what you do, but if they see you in the field and they hungry and you picking dandelions, guess what they're going to do? That's right. They're going to pick them dandelions too. They might not have any idea what you're going to do with it. But if they're going to figure if you do it, then they should do it. I told you about the Asians that lived behind my father-in-law's house that would walk the alley every day because they knew what they could eat. And before I realized that they was pulling a lot of the pawpaw. Well, I did my research on the pawpaw. The pawpaw is an indigenous plant in that area that is used for food and medicine. And you know what? I now notice where the pawpaw is at. And it's very thick along the river. Very thick along the river. Now, in my due diligence, I found that you should pick the pawpaw that is highest up from the water. Because not all of the waters are considered to be fresh. Some of those waters are very contaminated. But these are the byproducts of being in a circumstance in which you can change to your advantage. So, once again, look for those things that you can consume that are as live as possible. Stay off other people's property. Let me repeat that. Stay off other people's property. Because in diverse times, they will kill you. Why? Because you're taking something that is theirs. And some people, and believe this or not, some people are just going to take the opportunity to kill because they would rather go through your pockets and take what you have, knowing you have no fight, than to confront you and tell you about what they need. And you've seen it already. How many times have you pulled up to a high-volume four-way crossing or traffic light, and you see people out there with signs, will work for food, homeless veteran. All of these things are happening now. And we see them before our eyes, but since it does not affect us immediately, we can deal with them as we choose. I told you before how me and my wife deal with them from time to time. We can't deal with them all. Understand that. You cannot change the world dealing with people who have not prepared to live in this world. Even if they've fallen on hard times, that is their circumstance. If you want to add to it, you can. But remember this, you never know the intent. You never know the intent. And I'm going to reiterate that because I think it was about maybe 2 weeks ago, a lady pulled up to in the Midwest where she least expected it. Guy had a sign, would work for food or something. She went to give him some money. He pulled out a gun, took her wallet, and told her to drive off. So what do you think she did? You're right. She drove the hell off. But because of her act of kindness, she had to go report the guy, and I don't know if the guy was ever caught, but you never know a circumstance. That's what I'm pointing this out to you for. So sometimes you might have to say, well, this is not my time yet. This is not my time to be of service to someone else. I need to stay focused on what I'm trying to achieve and move on. I know to some of you are saying, wow, that sounds so incompassionate. But the reality is your compassion can be your pitfall. So wake up. We have an administration now that's already telling you the bottom line is that you are not a priority to them. Now, it doesn't take a rocket science to tell you to prepare for the diverse times that are to come. because literally you have done that. But those people who have not seen the forest for the trees. You know, they think, and, you know, this might sound amusing to some of you, but a lot of people think that as long as there's a government, they're going to be taken care of. Absolutely. You know what? Just by chance, I looked in to see what my Social Security would pay me. I'm over 62. I could get it if I wanted to, because I know it's not going to be there much longer. And I know that other people that are on Social Security now have no right to get it. But they expanded Social Security. Why? Because it has grown so much over a period of time. But that was during a period of time when the predominant amount of people were working and could pay into it. That has changed. That has changed immensely. Now you hear this new president talking about all the jobs he's going to bring back, this infrastructure he's going to rebuild. Well, guess what? He's using President Obama's plan. For those of you who didn't know it, that infrastructure bill, Republicans didn't do anything. They sat on it. Now they got somebody in office. Now they changed a few letters in the idea, but they're going to implement it. It's going to put a lot of people to work, but it's going to put a lot of people out of work. Make no mistake, there are going to be times when your heart bleeds, but prepare for that. One of the reasons why me and my family, we got together and purchased a farm was because we wanted to be able to put our family in one place and be able to feed them and have a water source available to them. But not everybody in my family is understandable to this or communicable to the idea. But you know what? When the times get rough, you know what the question is going to be? Well, where's the farm? So guess what? That's not what we call lucrative information right now. Why? Because they don't see the need to sustain their stipends and that sort of thing. And this is just not just my family, it's any family in a situation like this. So the burden may be carried by the few, but those few that's carrying the burden are the ones who's preparing, while the others are not. So don't think that because you're doing something right, that the very people who are supposed to say they love you are not going to come to you and want to utilize the very resource they could have helped put together and did nothing. This is just the times in which we live. Now, at this particular time, I'd like to point out there should always be a person in the family that everybody knows is going to have a plan for a circumstance. Okay? So say your child's in the kitchen and she's sleeping on the floor and there's a knock on the door. Don't let her open that door. You understand what I'm saying? She should go to dad. If dad ain't home, she should go to mom. Sometimes you might even want to have a recorder of a dog barking because that is a deterrent. We have to play this so-called game of life differently. And if you can avoid confrontation by having the bark of a big dog, then put it on amp and let your dog be huge, because that's enough deterrent for them to go to somebody else's house. I know, trickery, but don't make a difference if it saves the family. We're coming up on the last half hour, y'all. Y'all have been reluctant to call in. We're trying to give you as much good information as we can, but yet you're not ringing our phones. So let me go with the phone number again. I believe it's 866. I'm trying to memorize this. I shouldn't do. Let me go right to the phone number. But you should be calling in and voicing your opinion on what we're saying to you as a tool for you. Because I'm going to tell you something. When we are no longer available on the air, if you haven't written it down, you can't hear it no more. Because believe me, don't think for 1 minute that Tando Radio is not one of those stations that they're not saying, these people are offering too much information in a short period of time. We don't want them prepared. And that's just how they think. They don't want you to be prepared because guess what? When you're not prepared, you're easier to manipulate. You're easier to get the things done that they want to do to you. So keep listening. The number is 866-510-9025. We're coming up on a break. You got a half hour left. take advantage of that half hour. Call in with your questions so that we can literally open the door for other people who may be sitting back, listening, and not knowing. Not knowing what? Not knowing about shungite. You know what shungite is? My wife found this out for me, and I'm going to tell you something. This is the essence of having a thinking woman. She was doing some research, and she came across a statement. She broke that statement down because the statement was shungite could be used as a water purifier. Well, what did she say? What is shungite? She did her due diligence and turned it on to me. Shungite is a stone that some people even call a meteorite that has the positive vibration. I mean, literally, it breaks down radiation. It purifies water over a period of time. I got some right here in my truck right now. I'm looking at it. I got a clear glass jar. In the bottom of it, it looks like they're white crystals. Well, they're really stone size, and it's shungite. And we drink this water every day because it literally is it attacks radiation. It attacks your body. It attacks the radiation and breaks it down so your body can literally process it through. This is Brother Davis, so we're coming up on another break, the last break, okay? How many of y'all knew about shungite? You see, on Black Talk Radio, we open doors. SHUNGITE. Look it up and call me and tell me what you think, because this is just another tool in our arsenal that we are going to need and would be better to have than not have it. One thing about reparation, it's a personal responsibility, and you must prepare. This is Brother Davis of the Wise Wednesday coming back at you after the break. Pick up your phones.
Tuned in to the Black Talk Radio Network. For podcasts and live program scheduling, visit us on the web at blacktalkradionetwork.com.
We back. Okay, how many people have taken the time to go out into their neighborhood to see what water sources are? How about the sewage system? Have you looked to see where the sewers are? Have you ever thought about what the floor plan of the sewage system in your city and where the outlets go? Because if you got to make a move quickly, you want to use everything to your advantage. So should you have boots? Absolutely. If you're fortunate enough, you can have waiters or whatever. But if not, you still got to be agile enough to move. All right, so the sewage system may be a way of getting in and out of the city in a discreet manner. You will run into others because not everybody is thinking on the same level, but not only everybody's thinking the same way either. So if they think that they can move around at night underground, don't think for 1 minute that the system is not going to prepare for that as best they can. But others may be thinking the same thing. And, you know, the best part about that is that if they're like-minded and open to get to the same place, it is better to identify the friend of my enemy. Understand how I said that? I would rather identify the friend of the enemy of my enemy, because literally you have something in common. But if you find yourself in a situation where you have to be on a security mode, you got to make sure everybody in your group knows that. I don't even want to as much as a sneeze. So you have to look at what are their habits. Do they got bad habits? Do they smoke cigarettes? Are they the type of people who do oxycodone because they got a bad back? Or bad feet even? Because you don't want to be carrying somebody. And when people are in a diverse circumstance, they will give you up. They will give you up if they think you're going to leave them there. They will give you up. The sad part about it is that it takes a certain degree of courage to be a leader in any circumstance. And those are the type of people you're looking for in your group. You want those people who can take the lead of responsibility to save the group. Because, you see, the needs of the many outweigh the needs of the few. And you have to keep that in mind in group situations. And the sad part about it is that a lot of people don't.
Brother Davis,
I
have a question.
Yes.
You. Yeah. Could you talk about the being prepared to die? Because when you're talking about those things, to me, people who act courageously it's not the act itself that makes them courageous or anything. Everybody has a certain level of fear, but I think that courageous acts are committed by those who are able to overcome their fear. And I just think that it's important that we also be prepared to die, because that may be the only option, and maybe take out a couple of, as many as you can with you. But I mean, when we're talking about dire situations, you can't be afraid to act. You have to be prepared to die, because that's going to be a real possibility happening every day, in my opinion. Well, what do you think about being prepared to die?
Okay, first, let me tell everybody, hold on to your seats. You have been taught wrong about death. A lot of people, you probably say, what do you mean? Well, you just died. No, you don't. You transition. And the reason why you transition is because your body is just a shell. That's it. It's a shell for your spirit. Now, we have been taught that there is a heaven and a hell. Well, the truth is that concept is an old Egyptian concept that lives within your mind. Do you understand how I said that? It lives within your mind. So, in understanding that, you may be put in a position where your decision will cost you your life. But if you see your life as ending and there's nothing else left, then literally that's what will happen. But let me tell you truly what happens. You see, you live a life of karma. And what you do in life, you receive out of life. So if you see yourself as being a good person and you're doing good things, and you know that the reward of the cosmos is going to give you in death what you've earned in life, there is no death. So be strong and forthright in your decision and make it. Because I'm going to tell you something. When you find out, you cannot never tell nobody. But let me tell you what I know. I know that your spiritual nature has never been what Westernism has taught you to be, what it is. Know why? Because they've taken everything that they taught you about your spiritual nature from a group of people that literally ran the world without war for 6,000 years. And they did this based on a spiritual principle of transformation. When you were born, you started your transformation process. You were given a foundational teaching. And as you developed in that foundational teaching, the community opened to you at every stage in your life so that you fit right in to the point of your transformation. So when you decide, well, we all ain't going to get out of here. And we're going to have to do something so that the most can get out of here. To make the decision, calculate what you must calculate so that you can give them as much time or as much opportunity as you can, and then you follow your plan. If you don't have the heart for it because you believe that you're either going to die and that eliminates who you are, then don't even consider it. You know why? Because you are the type of person that when faced with that danger, you will give up your weapons. They will kill you, and they're even more armed to do destruction than they would have been if you would have gave up your life, taking 2, 3, 4, 5, 10, however many with you. That's less to pursue the group you're trying to save. And you have to understand, that group may be your family. That group may be someone that you want to be with through eternity. But here's the unique thing about spirituality. You are energy. You cannot die. You can only transform. Now, the cycle continues. You see, if you do not learn anything in this world for the time that you're in here, then you're condemned to repeat it. But if you learn while you're in this world how to respect yourself, how to respect your friends, how to live a respectable life, how to do good, how to add to humanity, that when your time of transition comes, you will be judged. Now, that concept of judgment that you know is based on a fallacy that they did not have the theological understanding, so they gave you what they wanted you to believe. But the theological understanding is that you, when your time comes, your guilt is weighed against a feather. So if you're not carrying guilt because of the deceptions that you performed in this life, or you may not have performed any at all, then your transition is simple. But if you are judged to have carried deceptions, then your reincarnation is simple. Why? Because you have not learned in this life to prepare for the next. I'm going to tell you something. Dying is easy. People do it every day. You ever notice how people smoke cigarettes? They're killing themselves. They condemn themselves. You see people who go out here and they eat and don't do it. Well, what is that? Oh, I don't know, but it tastes good. Literally, they're killing themselves. People do it all the time. They don't see it that way. But you want truth? I'm going to give you truth. You have a right to choose. I don't eat meat. I don't tell people don't eat meat. But we know long periods of meat consumption is destructive to the natural body. But when people haven't elevated themselves to understand how that works, they continue to eat meat. Some of them live to still reach an old age. But you know what they tell you? Well, I cut back some. Instead of eating an 8 ounce, I eat 2 ounce. That's growth in your circumstance. Death is always going to be a fear to you because you've been programmed by Westernism to fear it. Why? Because if you elevated yourself and understand the true power that you possess, being a melanated human being, and let me re-emphasize a melanated human being, because melanated human beings have a different philosophy of life from the beginning the European human beings. You see, melanated human beings were a part of an environment, and they treasured every part of their life. So that included the environment. Do you see that with the Europeans? So you have to understand that they teach you fear because they want you to emulate them. They fear everything. And most of all, they fear you waking up spiritually. So when they see somebody who decided, listen, I understand this is just a transition. I'm going to do what needs to be done to give them more time. That's against everything they believe. They're not creating guns because they love you. They do that because they fear you. There has to be a weapon in any kind of dominance. We as black people ruled the world, traveled all over. We have a life print in every continent in the world. Why? Because we never believed in fear. We could go anywhere, sit on the beach until we're approached, converse, bring our product out, trade, and move on. And the next time we come, we're welcome with open arms. You know why? Because they wanted to know if we had any more to trade. Africans literally are the root gene of every human being known to man. They will never tell you that. Matter of fact, the Chinese has just opened that door to say, you know what? We come from the African gene. There are black Africans. I mean, there are black Chinese. They're not only in Africa, but I'm talking about live in China. They was born in China, grew up in China. Matter of fact, there was on Facebook the other day, there was a brother who walked down the street, looked just as black and just as African as everybody else. And when he started speaking Chinese. And here, He was exposing to the world because most of the world don't think Chinese have any black. Russia has blacks. Every continent in the world have black people. And you think about the dynamic of the spiritual nature. For us to have a life print in every continent in the world, brother, it was a reason why we were put here first. Don't let death, by any means, be a fear factor that you cannot conquer, because you will find out that you are victimizing yourself because of the way you were educated. And then many are every day. You know why? Because Westernism must keep you in fear to control you. That's why they don't want you meditating. They don't want you to open up your mind, because then your mind begins to realize, you know what? There's a bigger world out here that this is thing called time and space. See, that's what our life period is, time and space. See, that's the shell that we're put in at this particular time, and we cover here while for that period of time we're here. That shell stays in that space, and as that space expands in a 3D dimension, you eventually age. If you are prepared for your age, then you're prepared for the transition. If you have not prepared for your age, and you know many of them, because they've been so victimized by Westernism, they don't even know anything about themselves, let alone their spiritual nature. And guess what? God love them all. Because, see, my purpose here, literally, is to be a part of humanity to make it better. There's nothing is ever taught in spirituality about loving your fellow man. You know why? Because our fellow man should be doing the same thing that we're doing. We should be giving a better quality of humanism to our human nature. I don't have to like you to say I love you. Why? Because I'm only saying it. What is love? You've heard me say it before. Love is an action. So if my actions are reflecting my love for you, why? I don't need to say anything. And us old schoolers know. Because guess what? I remember a time when my parents would go to work every day, and my dad literally bought his paycheck home on Friday, take a few dollars out, go out with the boys. You know, back then, drinking was a big thing. And they smoked cigarettes, too. But he didn't have to tell me he loved me because his actions demonstrated that. This thing called love, that is an emotion, is playing against people the way Westernism uses it. And believe me, there are so many people that are being victimized by it. It's ridiculous. You see these families nowadays, that they go through transition behind love. Well, you don't tell me, but I show you every day. But you don't hug me. You don't kiss me. You know what? That is an attribute. Don't get me wrong. But it is not love. Because if I loved you, when my wife, like right now, my wife is behind the wheel. If she didn't love me, her mind could go somewhere that would put me in danger, and I wouldn't know. So she doesn't have to say to me, darling, I love you every day. Although we greet each other with love, she doesn't have to say that to me every day. And we have to understand, when we transition spiritually, we don't even take memories with us. Did you know that? The reason why you don't take memories with you is because you haven't earned that right. But when you earn that right, those memories that go with you are only there for a period of time, because the task in the new life is greater than the task in the old. See, we are here for a purpose. If you haven't understood your purpose, if you haven't lived a good human life, if you have literally squandered this life here, your death is going to be as you think it's going to be. You know why? Because it's already in your head. It's between your two ears. Until you can make that transformation, you're always going to see it as destructive when it's not ever been meant to be that. Scotty, did that help you at all?
Yes.
Because our purpose here is to let people know that the doorway to life is how you prepare for it. And that's why we're talking about preparation. We want to live beyond this so that we can reestablish the world in the manner that it was supposed to be. When I look at my children and I say, look at that. You see that sun up there? That is Atum Ra. And they say, well, Papa, I thought it was the sun. It is. It's the greatest energy known. And it is given to us freely, and it gives us life. Don't think that religiosity is the end, because there is a reason for religiosity, just like there is a reason for spirituality. All right, I'm gonna get off that horse because I'm gonna tell you that's one of my favorite understandings of my personal growth, and I really like to see everybody growing, but everybody's not, and it's not my responsibility for them to grow, but it is my responsibility to open the doors of their inquisitiveness, because your inquisitiveness means that you are seeking, and it's not my job to lead you as much as it is to show you how to find the path that you seek. All right, getting back to prepping. If you're going to make that decision, people, now, here they talk about martyrism. Oh, he died as a martyr. No, it's not martyrism. All you're doing is giving those people in your group a better opportunity to escape the danger. And if the self-sacrifice is what you're willing to make, then make it. But just make sure that you do what you set out to do before you make it. And if you do that, it can be a pleasant ride, because all you can do is the best you can. Hear that clearly. All you can do is the best you can. So if you've been a good mother, if you've been a good father, if you've been a good brother, good sister, good friend, and that was the best you can, that's acceptable. Now, if on the other side, it comes down that the lessons that you needed to learn has not been completed, the chances are you'll have to come back to learn them. And see, a lot of y'all are going to be saying, well, what do you mean? This is the cycle of life. Do you think for 1 minute the 4 seasons come around according to the solar system and the solstice, and it doesn't serve a purpose? It dies and reborns in that cycle. Just like you. When you go to bed at night, your consciousness is always awake, but your subconsciousness is not. So when you dream, it seems so real, but isn't that when you wake up, you're back to the world of time and space? Well, you have to ask yourself, what world do you have the most power? And that's what you develop. You know why? Because as you expand, those people who see you or are around you or talk to you expand too. So you serve the purpose of humanity. These things that we see now with this Donald Trump and all this crazy crap, do you realize that they're talking about, well, what they're just talking could literally change the dynamic of humanity infinitely? According to them. You know why? Because they think that if they want to rule, they need a gun. They need something that's going to threaten you and put fear in you. But they fail to realize that if you rule the world righteously, would no gun be needed. But they know they're unrighteous. So that's not a surprise to you. Let me let that go, because I'm going to tell you something. There's a whole lot more involved in that than we can get out in a number of minutes. We're down to the last 10 minutes, y'all. Y'all have not called, so let me say this. I hope that with all of these shows that we have done, that if you can go back and listen to them, you do. If you got a pencil and a piece of paper, you write that, take notes. Because this stuff is not going to come back by recall. Why? Because it's too much information. Too much information. And the average media news channel, you will never get what you get right here. And this is another reason why it serves our purpose to us to keep this alive. You see, I don't just do a show on Black Talk Radio. No. I invest in Black Talk Radio. Why? Because I know that I'm going to need some information from one of these shows. Whether it's the abolitionists, Black Rose, entrepreneurs, or B2B, I don't care. I don't know what show is going to give me that nugget that allows me to create a greater value in myself. So I invest in it. And I invest in anything that within the concept of my grasp that is going to make us better people, more aware people. Because if we are not going to do something now, when your transition time comes, if you're not ready, don't worry, you won't see me. Because we live spiritually on different levels. And sometimes others people are not on your level, so they may never see you. This is Brother Davis on Wise Wednesday, and we're winding down to the last minute. I want to give shouts out to those people who are listening, who didn't call, because those people who are listening at least has the information that was on today's show. I would like to tell you, do go back into the archives, listen to what you can, write down what you need, put your plan together, work your plan, and do invest. And I seriously say, invest in Black Talk Radio while we have it, because I'm telling you not to do something I'm not doing myself. This is Brother Davis on a Wise Wednesday. Let me give it back to Dave, and I appreciate your time.
Much love, much respect, Brother Davis. Okay, everyone, New Abolition Radio is coming on. Another great show from Brother Davis coming on right after Tando Radio Show. You're listening to Tando Radio Show brought to you by Black Talk Radio Network. Thank you, Brother Davis, Sister Davis. Much love, much respect. And to everyone else, never goodbye as always. I'll see you later. And before you ask for a fortune, make sure to give one away. Peace.
Peace.